How's it going, everybody? Nikki D here, coming at you live, man, yet again. You guys know what it is. Today we're talking about Ahsoka. The TV show just ended about 2 weeks ago, and I can hear some people just outside my window. They're freaking me out. Anyway, we're going to be spoiling the show. We're going to be talking about pretty much everything that I saw, just in general, overall thoughts. So if you haven't seen the show, if you're worried about spoilers, see you later. But if you'd like to continue, here we go. So overall thoughts right away, and then we'll kind of just get into it a little bit, into the meat and potatoes of it, the meat and gravy. I didn't really like it. I feel like it was kind of a chore, but I put myself through it. Yeah, man, it was pretty rough. There were some highlights. And I'd like to really get into those. And then there were a lot of things that I just wasn't that into. So yeah, without kind of any further ado, let's get into it. This isn't going to be like an episode by episode breakdown. It's going to be overall thoughts. So yeah, the newest trilogy of Star Wars, I've had a big problem with. The Force Awakens was at least tolerable, but not that fantastic. And this just, man, I'm telling you, it's rough. So yeah, Ahsoka, you got a main cast here. And I want to say this right away. I've only seen a little bit of Rebels, like a couple of the seasons. I've seen all of the Clone Wars. Yeah, I've only seen some of Rebels. I just didn't really get into Rebels too much. It was more like of a kid show to me, and I couldn't really get into it. But I know like the general plot. You know what I mean? I know the general idea. I'm familiar with the characters. Like, I know who Ezra is. And his master, Hera, I'm familiar with. So yeah, like I see them in there, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I get that. But I could see like someone coming that hadn't seen it, like they would be able to piece together some things, but like there would be so much needed context that they completely miss out. Because within like the first episode, it's like this big reunion, and you're like, man, I have no idea who they're talking about. Like literally no clue. So yeah, I literally just finished the last episode about 5 minutes ago, so this is fresh. But we'll try to start in the beginning. But yeah, the main plot of it anyway is that General Admiral Thrawn. Again, if you have just seen if you have just seen movies, you will have no clue. But he is in the animated series, and he is the Grand Admiral, right? He's blue with the red eyes. I forget what they're called in the Star Wars series, but that race anyway. But yeah, obviously he's supposed to be a menace. Now, spoiler alert, I had to look this up. Well, I already said that, but big spoiler alert here, I suppose. So the end of Rebels, really at the end of it, Ezra, he's now an apprentice Jedi who really was the apprentice of an apprentice, and his master might not be alive. But, and yeah, he's like the main character of the show. Not Ezra, but the master. And anyway, so Ezra, though, in the end of that, kind of makes like a sacrifice, if you will. And he decides that he's going to take Thrawn in his Star Destroyer with these space whales. Now, that's the best description of them, but I'm pretty sure that's what they're called. And they're just gonna zone out to the middle of nowhere, because I guess they have the power to do so. Now, I will admit this part's on me. I don't really understand why they can't come back, but I think it's because they don't know where the hell they are, right? So they don't really know what direction to go. Like they're somewhere completely random in some random galaxy. They've got no clue, right? Like it just doesn't make any logical sense because they have no idea where they're going. They could go in the opposite direction, is what I'm presuming, right? That's what I get. The space rails just went somewhere random. So they're in like isolation kind of thing, right? So it kind of worked out because Thrawn's in isolation. You don't got to worry about him. Ezra's stuck there. All is good. Sabine is one of our main characters in this show. The first episode, by the way, she gets stabbed in the gut with a lightsaber, and she's okay. That's continued from Obi-Wan, so that's a thing now. Yeah, so she's one of our main characters. I'm going to be honest right off the get-go. I didn't like her. She was just, like, sassy and sarcastic. They would also joke. This is, like, a thing throughout the whole show that seems to be now a new Star Wars thing. Is, like, there'd be very serious moments, and they would just, like, joke about it. Later in the show's Hera, the Twi'lek there, she's got about, like, 5 X-Wings with her, and there's a ring that the enemies are using. Anyway, this is to get Admiral Thrawn to be able to get the hell out of there where he is. It's supposed to give him enough juice to get out of there. So anyway, that being said, they fly it. They go to fly in there, and they go to jump to light speed, and they're like, oh my god. So obviously they don't move out of the way. They jump to light speed. The main character's fine, by the way. And then like a couple of the X-Wings collide and blow up, right? And so that's people dying, like, you know, they're completely dead. She's joking, like 5 minutes later, like there's just no thought process about we just lost some good pilots, and that is completely gone. Doesn't make any difference. I found the action like really clunky, especially the lightsaber duels. Now I will say that they've again, spoiler. So Anakin, the actor Hayden there who plays him in the prequels, comes back. I love that he always does, like when they like in Obi-Wan as well, that they get him to come back. Like, and like he seems very happy with it too. He's very excited. He was very good in his limited moments. Some of the dialogue like he had was awful. You know, I mean, we can't get around that. But like his combat was excellent. You know, it just really, to me, it really makes the difference of the two. Like, say, from like Ahsoka to him, like he battles Ahsoka at one point in like the mystery world there, which we'll get into in a moment. But yeah, he just, it just shows how more fluid he is with it. Like, he just looks more natural when he uses a lightsaber and battles, where like the actress that plays Ahsoka, you know, Sabine, that was rough, where it really looks like they're holding an awkward prop and they're not used to it. That's just kind of my takeaway from that. I think that's called the World in Between Worlds or something like that. But yeah, they have a battle in there. We're just going to jump around anyway, episode to episode here. Like, it'll be back and forth. But yeah, so Ahsoka gets in there and she fights Anakin, which was just like, yeah, it's all right. And again, like, his performance there was excellent. She also gets a point where she goes into like the Clone Wars, and like, again, like, it's just like a completely like dusted over scene. Like, you can't like see anything except like really right where they're standing. And I didn't even really buy that either. I just thought it was just kind of annoying. Like, I couldn't get into it. Like, the season finale was heinous. You know, you got all these like stormtroopers. I thought it was actually kind of a cool design that they've like kind of pieced up together like armor. I really like that. I thought that was really ingenious, because like, obviously, like, they're in the middle of nowhere. They've got one Star Destroyer. Like, they're not going to have like adequate resources, right? So they're going to make do, and they did. They made do with what they had. Two TIE fighters, like, that literally they're on the ground like that. They can't even, like, they're not even hitting them or anything like that. And then they just collide with the TIE fighters. Of course, the TIE fighters blow up instantly. And our main characters are completely fine. There's even a scene where, like, Ahsoka goes out in space and she's, like, got her lightsabers and she's jumping around on the ship, like, slashing at the fighters. Oh, man, I couldn't get into it. I actually liked, so there's, like, kind of like your quote-unquote Inquisitors. So Shin and Balon, I think his name is. I liked them, but I don't like where they kind of ended, and I wanted to see more of it. So the master there, Balin, he was actually of the Jedi Order, and like, obviously he's like, you know, turned a new leaf, you know, per se. And that's his apprentice, is this Shin lady. I actually liked her design a lot too. Like, she had like kind of like she had like a garment, but then she had like armor as well, like on her sides and stuff. I just think that's really cool. I always liked that from like the like the, not the, I guess like the like before the prequels. You know, like I'm trying to think of the name of it, you know what I mean? But the pre-era, right? Way back in the day, right? Yeah, like when, like, I don't know, Revan was around and stuff. But I found, like, the Jedi Guardians and all that, they're very depicted in the Jedi Knights, that they have armor, you know, because that's, you know, I think that's a sick look. And I really liked it. But I like their characters. I wanted to know more about them, about what was going on. We don't really get to know that. Like, why did he leave the Order? Why is he training her, right? Like, what are their ambitions? We don't really know. We don't really get that. At the end, they're all left on the planet that Ezra's on. Ezra gets off that. I don't even know why he didn't, like, just a kind of a minor nitpick, but like, he like lands onto a shuttle of Hera, and he was like, doesn't take off his armor. He's wearing stormtrooper armor. He just walks it off, and like, and like, they just like let him leave. I was like, okay. Yeah, there was a lot of scenes like I could literally nitpick for like hours that were just like WTF. Like, I'm just surprised that like that happened. You know, they have the Witches of Dathomir come in there, and they make like a bunch of zombie stormtroopers, and like, oh dude, like, listen, like, when you watched Revenge of the Sith, right, and the Order 66 happens, they're taken over, right, the Jedi are getting slaughtered, like, you see that when they're in combat, right? I understand, like, they'd be kind of flustered, right? Like, oh my god, what's happening? But like, they're getting slaughtered, right? Like, there'd be there'd be like 6 troopers to 1 Jedi, and like, you can't deflect all those shots. It'd be like fully automatic guns, right? Or semi-auto lasers, and they would just kill them, right? Like, one hit kills them. And yeah, like that doesn't happen. As soon as they're outnumbered by like literally 25-3, then no problem. Sabine, I got to be quite honest, I had a problem with her outfit. I mean, actually, kind of in general, but I found a lot of the outfits look really cheap. If that's a fair criticism, I just find that they weren't like they just looked cheap. They just really had that look to them. And her armor in particular, I just didn't like her like outfit like at all. I don't even like the character that much. But like at least in Rebel she was tolerable. But here I couldn't stand her very much, to be quite honest. And anytime she used a lightsaber, it just looked really clunky. And also anytime she was attacked, now she has Beskar, right? Which, if you're not aware, it's basically a very, very, it's supposed to be very rare, but apparently not, type of metal, and it can actually, like, negate, like, a lightsaber strike, blaster shots, whatever. Apparently there's, like, a cheaper version of it that, like, I think maybe only does blaster shots, but not lightsaber, and that was actually in the Clone Wars scene, because Ahsoka's killing Mandalorians, like, pretty easily with a lightsaber. Now, back onto Sabine, her armor doesn't actually cover her whole body. It's basically, like, forearms, chest, back, like, in general, but like legs, arms, like all fine, right? Anytime she's ever under attack, she does like the Wonder Woman where she just like sticks an arm out and the blaster will just shoot right there. It was very, very, very frustrating. There's even multiple occasions where like you think like in a force battle something would happen. I bring this up, I think it's still related to Sabine, but yeah, like where they would just like could easily force push someone, and they do a couple times, and like after a battle, like Ahsoka gets outnumbered 2-1, you're like, oh okay, and then she just throws Shin into a wall and knocks her out. Like, why didn't you do that an hour ago to both of them? But I say that because Shin throws Sabine into a tree and her helmet just goes flying off. Like, it's not even like strapped on, I don't know. I was a little interested in that. Hera, I don't find she really did a whole lot. It was probably just a look at her butt. Like, I don't really get her point. She even brought her kid along on one of these missions where they were, like, possibly in danger. I just don't understand, like, anything about it. Again, I could just go on for like 3 hours. I'm just really not a fan of the show. I think it was really cliche. The action scenes were like, I mean, they look nice, sure, but like choreographed, like, nah. Like, did they all look clunky? Yes. Did I have questions in like every one of them, or was I laughing hysterically at several moments? Yes. I just, like, I can't wrap my mind around a few of the things in the show, and that would be it. Thrawn was fine. He had a gut, which I thought was funny, but I didn't mind him. I didn't hate him. Again, I think Balin was one of the best things about the show, and I think he was kind of wasted. It's also, like, and again, this is just my lack of understanding. I don't understand too much why they're trapped on the planet. I think from what I said earlier is probably close enough, but that's what I'd have to guess, that they're stuck on this planet. I think it's even a coincidence that the first people that Sabine goes and finds, they just let her go, by the way. The first people that she goes and finds, like these random creatures, just immediately know Ezra, which I was like, just, like, I just, man, I just don't understand at all. I don't get it. I haven't watched Andor. That's next on my list, but I heard it was actually quite good. And some people apparently don't think that's really Star Wars. Well, I think, like, having Anakin walking up to Ahsoka and then playing, like, the theme of Vader was just so cliche. Like, we get it that he's Vader. Like, I think anybody watching Star Wars at this point in their day, especially Ahsoka, the TV show, probably knows who Vader is. The thing that makes me laugh, too, like, especially from, like, The Mandalorian, is, like, again, if you are not privy to like the Clone Wars or Rebels, you have no clue who Ahsoka is. You don't know that Anakin had a Padawan. It makes sense, like it adds up, but there's no like notion to you of it. Like you're like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so like overall thoughts, I know I pretty much just ripped it apart, but that's kind of the plan. It's just like, I don't know, man. I just can't get into, I tried. I really did. And there were redeemable things about the show, but like not enough, right? Not enough to be like, wow, this is really good. This is a great time. A lot of filler, empty dialogue. Like, you'd have scenes where just nobody's talking. The dialogue itself was just really weird. Like Ahsoka can't even like make more than like 3 emotions, which is just like a smile, like a smug look, and then just like a standard stare at something. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I just don't get it. Again, Balin, Anakin coming back, or the actor who played him, probably the two best things of the show. And one was kind of wasted, and the other, I don't know. But there you go. That's Ahsoka. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.